So when we think of supply chain disruption, our focus more often than not has turned to oil, and for good reason. But a lesser documented and perhaps more fundamental crisis deserves our attention. The global network that moves food from production to consumption. We're fortunate to have Dr. Robert de Souza with us today to underscore the challenges facing this vital supply chain. He also has an incredible view of Singapore, having lived here since the 90s, and is a fount of information about what to see and what to do while you're here. So hit him up on that as well. Dr. de Souza is the Executive Director and Chief Executive of the Logistics Institute, Asia Pacific at the National University of Singapore, where he has served since 2004. He is a writer, consultant, and advisor in logistics and supply chain management, and is an industrial engineering fellow at the National University, teaching modules related to supply chain thinking and practice. Robert also has founded and leads cross-region activities, notably in humanitarian logistics. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Robert de Souza.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Evan, for that kind introduction. Sure. Let me get started because we have an hour together, and one of the things that I love to do is to walk around and engage with you. So if you have any questions, do not wait until the end of my presentation. Just ask me and we'll make it interactive. Is that okay with you? Now, I speak all over the world, and I kind of understand a lot of you all come from ASEAN countries, Asian countries, and we are the Logistics Institute, and we work with all the countries in Asia Pacific, yeah, and including, I see some of you coming from India. We also include India in that, but most often we are engaged with ASEAN countries, yeah, because ASEAN countries have particular sets of issues that we deal with. I'm so happy that you went to the port. What did you think of it? I have a good impression because it's going to be history soon because it's moving. Yeah, it's moving to the western part of the island. So what you see or what you saw today will not be there in 5 years. Yeah, it's already moving. It's already moved, in fact. Yeah. It's a huge port, yeah. And you know what's particularly special about our port? That it's so different from the rest of the countries in Asia, except in China, yeah. What is different? Automation is all, including in other ports too. But what is the port actually set up to do that you don't see elsewhere so easily? We call it transshipment. That's correct, because you see the whole idea of our port and airport is connectivity. Yeah, so we excel on connectivity because it's not a gateway port. So when you actually look at any other country, they are gateway ports. What's a gateway port? It's a port that helps you bring things into the country. A majority of the goods that we have at the port are actually in transit, and they're moving to another mode of transport. Sometimes we bring in things by sea and we move them out by air. You might ask why you do that. I can explain to you. We also make sure that the connectivity is very high. So whenever we have any kind of logistics in Singapore, it's all about connectivity because our domestic market is smaller compared to anybody else. So I wanted to make sure you understand that because that has a role to play. We don't have domestic airports. Yeah, we have to go up. We might have spacecraft, but we don't have domestic airports. We also have more planes in Singapore Airlines than we can accommodate on the ground. Yeah, so it's very unique. So when things shut down over the last couple of years, it was very important where do we park our planes. So we don't have trains in Singapore. So we only have an MRT, but we don't have trains. We used to have trains that went from Singapore to Malaysia, but we don't have trains. So we don't have road haulage. So like in the US, you'll move things by road. We don't have road haulage. Yeah. We have very small trucks that move things because what's the capital of Singapore? Okay, so we are very much urbanized. So it's very special form of logistics that we have, and that is urban logistics. We are a city state. We are logistics for very highly urbanized. So we don't have those modes of transport that if we just go across and you can see Indonesia, and if you look that way, you can see some Malaysia. We don't have that facilities that other countries have. So we always share with our students, and if they grew up in Singapore, they have never seen a train. Yeah, they've never seen an engine. They've never seen a domestic airport. So can you imagine when we came through the last 4 years of the pandemic and when countries shut their borders? It was very extreme for us. Yeah. What else, please? We don't have agriculture, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay. Do you know what percentage of our food is imported? 95% is imported. Yeah, so 95%. What percentage of our drinking water is imported? 5%. We actually, I will show you that. I will show you that. And what do we have to do that's special? Because only 1% of our land is agricultural. 1%. But the rest of the percentage is on the rooftops. Yeah. So we have vertical farming. So we produce eggs. We special chickens in the western part of the island. We produce vegetables. Yeah. But not enough to feed the population. Okay. So it is very critical that when somebody closes their border to us, it's existential. It's not a minor inconvenience. And so I lead the Logistics Institute at the National University of Singapore. It is a national research institute. It was actually established back in 1998 with the Georgia Institute of Technology in Atlanta, with the transfer of knowledge, and then we transfer the knowledge in turn into the region. So we are a research institute. We do applied work because the actual research is done by the academic departments. We have 6 universities in Singapore. We have 5, but 6 universities. NUS is the oldest university. Do you know how old NUS is? Compared to some of your countries, that's very young. Okay, it's 120 years old. And it gave rise to all the other universities in Singapore. But we all collaborate very efficiently together. So we are the only logistics institute in Singapore. And so we work with industry, we work with governments across the region, and we work with academia. So we work with all the top universities across Asia. And eventually all the universities that we can work with. Yeah. So we want to learn and we want to share our knowledge. Now, we are facing a particular issue that actually happened 5, 6 years ago. But supply chains to us is to move goods from an origin to a destination and transit through several stages. Yeah. Today, we are under threat. Yeah, it's a crisis. Things are stuck. So suddenly, the supply chain becomes visible. It is previously invisible. You do that all the time when you are in e-commerce. You just go randomly and you place an order on an e-commerce site and you expect it to come to your doorstep. You have very little consideration of how it gets to your door. You don't care. But if it's late and it doesn't come, you howl at the e-commerce company. Yeah, so this is very serious problem. Now, don't get me wrong. This we are there, because Singapore is one of the most advanced countries here. Do you know how long it takes to do a delivery from an e-commerce hub to your house in Singapore? No, sir. 3 days. How long does it take in Jakarta? Yeah, how long does it take in Jakarta, Yes, this is the point. So don't assume that because you have all the infrastructure, you actually can make a fast delivery. When I was in New Delhi, and kind of like in 15 minutes, you could get whatever you wanted. In Jakarta, it's fast because they'll do it by motorcycle. So why is it slower in Singapore? Why? No, look around you. Why? Elaborate. No, it's not there's no space for warehousing. We always make space for warehousing, but what are you really getting at?
Actually, why when you set up warehouses,
You also said it.
Basically, you're not getting the goods have to
come from
come,
other
and
countries.
then so it's not like it's there and.
Okay, you said it in a.
When constructing a building, you did not. The plan was not met at that.
No, you're too generous. Okay, you're too generous. It's actually a very high labor cost, which is what you said. 2, it's storage space. It competes. The opportunity cost of warehousing is very high. I can build apartment block to live. I can create the space, but so why do you want to store it? You want to move it. You store it, it's very expensive to store. Holding cost is very high. So that's why e-commerce is actually a problem. Okay? So with that in mind, I've gone through my whole lecture with you, but I'm going to just show you some slides. Virtually everything you have around you, including the water, the coffee, everything, almost everything you did has been imported today in some form. Which other country you can actually say that? Yeah. Yeah. So you have had goods that you actually come from an international domain. And that is what makes us very focused on the supply chain. Yeah. So virtually everything. And you saw the port. The port, we know the state of the economy. And I joke here a little bit, it's lighthearted, by the side of the crane. You see the crane? If we look out of the window and if all the cranes are up, we know there's a problem in the economy, nothing coming through. Okay? So when the cranes are active, we know the economy is hot. Okay? So just look around you, and you should have asked that question of the port. Look at all the ships. They are actually occupying quite a lot of space. Okay? There used to be beautiful beaches in Singapore. So they've gone because the logistics takes key over that. Yeah. So when you look at it, and we have studied things that are really important to us. So I chose to talk to you about food because that's what matters to all of us. We studied rice Rice is very important. Now, when I'm in Europe and I ask them, what's your staple food? They don't have an idea of what is a staple. If you ask anybody in Asia, what's your staple food? If you don't have rice on the table, when folks ask you, what's your job? They'll say, what's your rice bowl? Okay? Yeah, that's your rice bowl. You don't break somebody's rice bowl. So we're very careful about rice. So rice has to get to where it's needed very quickly. Yeah, so.
Complete without rice, without biryani. But you definitely have more.
Now you try to tell somebody in Europe that, they'll say there's always an alternative, right? But here, without rice, so when we look at rice.
But now the European people are more into the biryani and pulao things. They are.
So that's the international influence from India and from the Middle East, yeah. Okay, so we'll see more of that coming in, and that's how do we get the rice from where it's produced to where it's consumed. And that is a very serious problem because you see, there is most of the production of rice comes from our part of the world. And if we don't look at the rice very carefully, this will cause a lot of political chaos. Yeah, so rice is very important. So we look at how rice can disrupt economies. So rice is one of them. Yeah, there are many other critical parts of the economy. I can tell you a story. Yeah, one of the things that's very important for us in Singapore is chicken, but particular type of chicken. What type of chicken do Asians eat? That in Europe it's very different scenario. Fresh chicken. That's what you're talking about, right? Fresh chicken. We like to buy our chicken at markets when we are not short of chicken. But the government, when you stockpile chicken, you stockpile frozen chicken. The Singapore palate is not tuned for frozen chicken. So imagine fresh chicken getting to your table, and if it didn't get to your table, the government would be in big trouble. Okay? So these supply chains look very basic, but they are very critical to survival. So when we tried to release frozen chicken into the market, nobody bought it because elderly like me, when we go to the market to buy it, it's also social. You meet other people, and if you don't go to the market, you get very lonely. Okay? So you will not understand this. You try explaining it anywhere else in the world. It's not just food. It's all society. Society thrives on the social interaction caused by purchasing of food. So it's very important that you look at it. It's a mishmash. So we tried and we worked very carefully on. We were prepared because we know that we don't grow any rice, but we have to make sure that we get our share of rice from around the region. Okay, and they are big producers of rice, and I'll show you this. Now, one thing's very particular about food. If it doesn't get to you on time, it's garbage. If the vegetables are stuck on the causeway, we have two links to Malaysia by road. Yeah, we have one in the west and we have one in the central region. What's the length of that causeway? Does anybody know? And how long does it take to cross that 1 kilometer? Ooh, that's very fast. It's 2 to 3 days in cargo. To cross as a human being is 2 to 3 hours. To cross the border in cargo can take up to 3 days. Yeah? So if you don't get your food carefully sourced, is garbage. Yeah. And we are finding a lot of this happening today, is wastage. Yeah. Now, we are very impacted by climate change. Yeah. All the region, there's swings with weather. This is very unusual for us right now, this rain. This rain is very unusual for us because right now it should be very hot. Like every day. But it's raining, it's cooler. And this is hurting us a lot. Yeah. So it's creating demand spikes that we are not anticipating. We don't know, why do we have to have so many kinds of cereal, so many kinds of rice, so many kinds of, when an emergency, we don't know what we really need, because what we really need compared to what's branded is very different. Okay, so some countries around the region control rice prices. We don't, yeah? Control rice prices and make it available all the time. So there is a staggering complexity. One of the things that we are beginning to face right now, and if you go to our neighboring countries, like I told you, we have an opportunity cost, but second order effects. If the price of oil goes too high and a farmer cannot produce, what will he do? He'll sell his land. And what does that do in the supply chain if he sells his land? In the long run, yeah. So you reduce the capacity for the future. And this is very serious. So governments have to be very careful, because if the land use changes dramatically or the farmer switches crops, the staggering supply chain effect is very serious to us. Yeah. So yes. Yes.
So now we have seen the growth of the housing society.
That's right. And this is what we have to cope with. So we as advisors, researchers, academics, we have to make sure that we understand what is the supply effects and what is the demand, and is the demand real or actually branded. And so this becomes a very interesting supply chain issue. It's made worse by all these disruptions, yeah? And we are facing a serious one as we speak, yeah? The disease, the pandemic, caused us a lot of headache, yeah? And supplier failure, geopolitics, as is happening today, demand surges because suddenly somebody actually brands something or advertises something and you have a huge issue, right? Now, let me actually, because I made this very simple, okay? It's too simple, yeah? What is the impact of oil? And you spoke about it. If the fuel is too high, go to our neighboring countries. Who's from Manila? You are, right? You know the problems that transportation will cause. There's no alternative. Farmers in Indonesia are suffering. Okay, anybody from Indonesia? You are? So you know what I mean? Big talk in the papers about subsidies, etc. And do they have an impact? And just who is it impacting was in the newspaper yesterday, whether they're impacting the wealthy or they're impacting the rest of the population. Okay? Was it your article? Okay, so you see there's a problem with fuel. We only just realized very recently about fertilizer being held up from the Middle East. We care about our supplier. We don't really care about our supplier. And this became an issue because we are very selfish. In supply chains, we only care that I get what I want from the chain above me, but I don't care too much about how far up the chain it is. And when it hits us, it becomes a force majeure event and everybody abandons this chain. So transportation costs have spiked. Now, it's not only the transportation costs, it's transportation availability that's actually dropped. So we have a problem. So oil is a great issue for us. Yeah. And what do we do when we actually want to handle this? We handle it in many different ways, but the capacity gets lost for years. We take years to recover. So even though somebody says, oh, this can go back to normal now that everything is solved. No. In the supply chain, we have a lead time, and the lead time creates a huge issue. It can be from days to years, yeah, because the capacity might be lost. We have choke points. Now, in Singapore, we have no excuse for being late because everything works. If I am in another country, you go to a meeting and you have to allow for lots of different things. Here, our students cannot be late for class. We know if they're late is because they didn't wake up or they had an alternative use, because everything is functional and is predictable. So the government here made a lot of effort to make things very, very predictable. Okay, so when we start to look at the next stage, and I told you about rice, and you can see what did we do in the past that we are having to do differently now, right? So we actually, in the past, when we had a problem with supply, what did we do? We diversified the suppliers. We said, let's actually go. Now, what happened when you're a country that actually diversifies your supply? What happens is that each supplier gets less part of your business, and you become insignificant to that supplier, causes a new problem. All suppliers might be concentrated in a particular area that's subject to disruption. So we have to handle that, because if all your suppliers are concentrated, it can become very disruptive. Yeah. So we have a new thing that's appeared on our radar, and that's called transit blindness. We now are acutely aware that it's not whom we order from, but what mode of transport and how are they going to get it from me? So it's a very unusual question that we're asking today. We ask you, if I'm going to order from you, sir, whom are you using and what route are you taking to get to me? You see the different question from 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I ordered from you, you bring it to me. Now we are faced with a different question. Whom are you using? Are you going through this particular route, or are you getting it in a different way to me? And if I'm getting it, I'm no longer interested in just the shortest route to me. I'm interested in the most secure route to me. Okay? So supply chains, all our software had to change because it was designed on economics. It wasn't designed on geopolitics. So we have to understand that they are choke points. So transport companies are not really equipped today to tell you, I'm moving your goods for you. Your goods are opaque until they get to you. All right? So even if I do everything well, but my logistics is broken, I have zero food security. Unless I am privileged to have an agricultural capacity. Okay? So we have had to revise our thinking in supply chains to say we follow the flow. We don't just focus on the source or the origin. We need to know where things are all the way through. Yeah, we need to have alternatives for every stage of the supply chain. Can you imagine the detail that's required now from supply chain professionals? So I'm going to jump here. You asked me about Singapore. I'm going to show you about Singapore. We diversify our sources so we're not concentrated, but we make sure that every supplier wants to work with us. Okay? We actually stockpile. I told you about chickens, yeah? We stockpile. We actually grow locally, vertically. We have farms, yeah? But the key point is that 90% and it's 95%, we import from over 170 countries, and we have to monitor this. And that's what we do. So how do we do this? Sorry, go.
You spoke about how 95% is all imported, and now you have the biggest disruption happening right now. How have costs gone up in terms of what is the inflation here?
Yeah, now you're talking about shelf cost, or you're talking about logistics cost?
Wholesale, it's the retail inflation, which the food inflation, or
Yeah.
And we kind of study different parameters for inflation back home.
Yeah.
I don't know how inflation and average inflation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, your question is interesting because you see there's a number of things that we have to consider, and I'm talking about food here. Okay, if the food is not affordable to the general population, it's not food anymore. It's a political issue. You know what I'm saying? So food prices have to be controlled. Yeah. Now, if you're talking about another kind of item like a brand of toothpaste, that can cause high prices. But we have to maintain the staples. So I'm talking to you about the staples. So this price must be affordable by the population.
So if food prices are controlled,
not all food prices.
Okay.
Staples.
So then the countries, it's paying more for those, right? So your import bill goes up.
Yes.
As well, and it must have now.
But not to the population. That's why I was asking you the question: who you're considering?
In terms of the general population.
Yes.
How does that kind of?
And so, like in Singapore,
impact?
we have a supermarket that's controlled 60% of the market, and they are linked to the trade union. Yeah, so you can go and see it, and so the prices there are stable.
So you haven't felt the cost of the war as such in Singapore, thanks to
again the
staples.
consumer.
The consumer, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, because
but the government
else,
definitely.
everywhere else, we are feeling it. It's been passed on.
Yes.
Because the cost of fuel
In staples,
everything.
it's not passed on.
Okay.
Because it's survival, it's staples.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not passed on, it's absorbed.
It's absorbed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or how can you absorb it? Either you absorb it by actually having more efficient supply chains or other means. Okay, but staples, if you take everything, of course, inflation will go up. Yeah.
And fuel cost, what about the fuel cost?
It'll go up.
So
yeah,
that must,
it's at market value.
That the average person would be, I mean, whoever.
That's right. But how do we, and this is an example that I was sharing with you earlier, we'll use the MRT, not our car.
Yes.
And the government will provide a very efficient form of transportation. So if you choose to go by your car, that's a choice that you make as a consumer. You have an alternative, so we provide alternatives.
Yeah, and I think buying cars is very difficult in Singapore. I know.
Okay, we won't go down that route.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right behind you.
You have to buy the right to buy a car first.
Hi, I'm Dewi from Malaysia. So can you elaborate more on just now you mentioned about the staple food, that if under the control of the price, it might be the political issues. And then the second question, just now the slides that you show, I think the previous one, the food, another one. Yes. high harvest can still mean zero security? Maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Okay, very good question, right? Because one is the staples. Be careful, yeah, I'm talking about staples that are essential to the average consumer, not the luxurious consumer, okay? So we can have all the food that we want to, but if I can't get it to you, you don't have it, you don't care what the harvest is. And what happens in countries, wastage. Can't move it. Now, if I also, in a big country, one state creates a bumper crop, the other state might not. But because you do not have supply chain visibility on the other state, you don't have a market. Okay? So I'll show you how we do it. Would you be more interested in that? Then you'll see here, because I'm aware of the time. Yeah. So I'll show you how we do it. Yeah. So let me jump to that. Okay. All right. So now let me. Oh, sorry. Let me go back here. Sorry. And I'll go through rapidly. So what do we do? I talked to you about the problem that we all know about, right? What do we do as advisors, as researchers? What we do is that we create visibility across the full network. Full network. So we know what's going to happen in supply chain terms. We call this a digital twin or control tower. Yeah. So we have visibility across the full network. So every farm, every supplier, we actually get information from. Okay, that's of concern to us. Might not be of concern to your country, but concern to us. And we simulate when something fails. Okay, and I'll show you this for real, right? So we have multiple tools that we actually use. Now, this is the complicated part, and I'll keep it very simple. We built a computer model, just like a control tower at the airport. So we know that every plane must land on schedule, on time, and so what we know all the incoming planes. We know what's on the ground. We know what's got to leave. And we build this optimized system that actually controls everything for Singapore, yeah? So we look at the whole world and we understand where potential problems might be. So we read what you write, we digest it using AI, and all my slides are created with AI, yeah? Because I told AI what I wanted, yeah? So we know. But in the past, it was just a straight line because we didn't care. We didn't care because it's just origin, destination. Today, we know the route. And we have all the routes. We create this. So we've taken all the geospatial data, all the company data, and we actually create an analytics engine that eliminates the whole system. Now, what are we looking at here really is rice production. Yeah. Okay? So we create it, and we map all the connections and up to the supermarket level. So we know what's on the shelf. All right, so a digital twin of the whole network, like a control tower, right? And so we have done this, and I'll show you what this is. We know where the dependencies lie, okay? So we can drill down, we can identify concentration spots. So we know when something is going to happen before you do. So we know. We learned this from humanitarian logistics. We know a disaster is going to occur. We just don't know when, and we don't know how bad it's going to be. But we know it's going to happen. So we simulate all the options that we have. Yeah? we actually play it out and say, what's the blast radius? Who's going to be impacted? And what do we do about it? Yeah. Now, I'll show you this. This is the real map of Indonesia for my friends from Indonesia. You see here, this is the control tower for a country. So we know all the routes, what's moving. Okay? We know the whole network for every commodity.
What about earth events?
Yes, all the possible disruption, the geopolitical, natural, weather. Here.
AI is able
Yeah, we use AI for this too, but we scour the information sources in structured and unstructured information.
So you're saying AI is able to predict if there's going to be any weather event or
In my network, yeah. If it's going to disrupt my network, I feed it in. Okay? So you'll see this is what we're doing. And what happens if I switch mode? Yeah. If I go from air to sea or road to sea, what are my options that I can do? Yeah. So this is what we do. And we do it as control towers. And imagine if we do it for every country, which is the same. We do it for every country, the information. Now, what's the problem? It looks nice. It is nice. What's the problem? Countries do not want to share data. Companies do not want to share data. We know that the data is available because everything that goes through a shipping port, we know what's on board. Where does the problem lie? In country. The problem does not lie internationally because we know what moves. Companies don't want to share data. Now, we tell them if you don't share data, yet you will be very happy to go to AI and you'll question AI. But if you don't put your data in to train it, what you're getting out is garbage for you. Yeah?
Just one question. So you can commercialize this. You've thought of commercializing this if it's a patented product. Your this platform.
But you want to invest?
I'm asking you, governments.
The answer is yes, but that's not our goal as academia. Our goal as academia is to make sure all countries benefit. It's the altruistic part. Okay? Because like I said, if you go to your AI and you don't want to share anything about yourself, but you want to question AI, it's pretty useless actually because it doesn't know you. I tell my AI everything about me. So it tunes itself to give me what I want to know. But if companies don't want to share their data, they're getting useless data for themselves to make decisions. Okay, so with that, I am almost at the end. So your assignment, what can we do to integrate? How can we encourage folks to share data? Why do we all stockpile? Because, in supply chains, the word stockpile to us is evil because you're holding it away from somebody else. Your holding cost is high. So, but why can't we have an ASEAN stockpile? Why? Why can't we have, when you have a surplus, you share with me, but you don't. You leverage it, yeah? So you see, every shock hits twice. We only read the headline of the first shock. We as supply chain professionals, we actually look at the secondary shocks too, okay? Only the first shocks make headlines. The second one will come in the future. So we only make headlines on the first one, yeah? So to conclude, this is what I talked to you. I just wanted to excite you a little bit. I didn't know how far or how deep you are in supply chains, but I just wanted to open your mind. So what we do at our research, we actually help a lot of countries So I just back from Indonesia. In the last month, been to Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and then sharing the knowledge to get more knowledge from Europe. Austria has a very good system. Yeah. UK, London. Yeah. So we travel to put these systems in place because nothing worse than designing a system that nobody uses. So that's why we don't go to the commercial side. And all your AI, I don't think you even bought a license for it yet. Okay?
Thank you.
Good. So I've concluded. That's me. If you want to find out who we are, that's me. That's an AI-generated image of me. I just put it on there, yeah? So that you can't accuse me because you're recording, you can't accuse me of saying anything, yeah? I disclaim it, yeah? Okay, please.
Hi, I'm Amanda from the Wall Street Journal. I'm based in Singapore. So a few years ago, Singapore actually has an issue with the chicken ban with Malaysia because they import a lot, I think like 30% from Malaysia. So, and then during that time, a lot of suppliers here and companies have a lot of issues importing the chickens, and they are like fresh chickens from Malaysia. So it caused a very big issue here in Singapore. Was your system actually able to detect, because you say the country...
No, our system, I said, was only in the last 6 months.
Oh, only in the last 6 months. Okay.
Yeah, because the need has changed.
But because such an incident happened a few years ago, is it something your system is able to predict?
Yes, because just look at the cause of that incident. The cause of that incident was bird flu, yeah. And so the capacity of chicken within a country declined. And so you'll keep it for your own domestic use. It's not that you don't want to export it, yeah? It's just that you don't have the capacity to do that. This would pick it up. What we can do with AI today, we couldn't do with AI 2 years ago. Not even last year. So we have now agentic AI that actually can search and scour around that we couldn't do it before. Yes, sorry.
You're here. Hang on.
You want to go first? Well, get the mic. Oh, you got a mic here. Please, you want to go first or you? He's going to be a gentleman there, you see.
Thank you so much. Thank you for an interesting presentation. My name is Asil Soronbayeva. I'm from Kyrgyzstan. Today I represent Central Asia. And you mentioned that Singapore has not trained, but we landlocked. We don't have access to sea and any lake. So how can landlocked regions like in Central Asia turn this limitation to advantage?
Yes, so you're turning vulnerability into a strength and opportunity. Yeah. How do you do that? Using IT. Yeah. You use these tools.
I have no idea. So.
Yeah, you use these tools because when you actually I was open and told you our vulnerability is that we are importing 90+% of food. So we don't wait for it to arrive in the port before it didn't arrive. We want to track it right down from source. And now we want to track it from source all the way through its transit points to us. And if it's not going to get there, we want to play out alternative scenarios to get there. Now, what I showed you was that international part. What I showed you in the software too was the domestic part. You see, like if you're in Indonesia, where's my Indonesian friend, right? The island, how many islands in Indonesia? 17,000, right? What's the major island? Java, right? What's the percentage of the economy that Java contributes? More than 60%, right?
You mean the sale, creative industry?
Now, if you ask where are the centers of activity in Java, it could be Bandung, it could be Surabaya, it could be Jakarta, it could be, So how does it move to the port? It's opaque. Usually moves by road. So what every country in ASEAN says to us, I want to bring down the logistics cost. But if you don't understand where logistics cost is expended, then there's no starting point. So we actually collect the data. So in your country, if you have to have the map of what you are doing. What are your modes of transport? What is your geospatial part? And what's your temporal aspects? Okay? If you come in 3 months' time, before the end of this year, Singapore will already launch the system. We'll be very happy to help you. Your question.
Yeah. Actually, I was writing on digital twin a few years back. At that time, it was just something I was also not understanding how it works basically. The way you explained here that how digital twin you are using it to, in your supply chain industry. Only few Western companies are helping in creating a digital twin, and there are also proposal in India to create a digital twin of lots of public infrastructure. My question is that how much it takes time to create a digital twin of this massive exercise you have done, and what kind of investment, how much investment it requires for a country. See, I know Singapore is a very small, but at the scale you have done, you're creating a digital twin platform and all. So how much investment exactly you have done basically? I'd like to understand.
Actually, don't think about it as an investment, because what is it that what's the opportunity cost if you don't do it? Now, you all got your computers in front of you, right? Look at something called Virtual Singapore. Look at it. Just search for it. So Virtual Singapore is a digital twin of the country. Say you look for it. I mean, you got internet. You just do a search for, and you'll see some Marina Bay Sands there. What you are talking about, the investment is not monetary investment. It's investment in how am I going to collect the data to feed this digital twin? In Singapore, all of us have a technology. I've never been into a government office in Singapore to apply for anything. I do it all online. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the investment, because if you think about the investment, you'll never get started.
Elliot, go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Elliot. I used to work for FT and Wall Street Journal. Now I cover merger and acquisitions at the Capital Forum.
All your newspapers are scaring me, sorry.
Because the topic actually you're covering is very similar. Like I covered the supply chain security. For example, one deal I have been covering most of this month is the Anglo-American trying to buy the asset, the tech resources. It's a $53 billion deal. So the Anglo is selling some of the assets actually to China's MG. But the deal is being stuck there for quite a few months because China won't allow it. Basically, China is saying, I need supply chain security on the copper.
Yes.
Now copper is so important. But then the EU won't approve the Anglo-American and to MMG deal because the EU said, I also want supply chain security.
This is what I was talking about.
Exactly.
It's countries that do not allow, because they have something, the rules in the country is data sovereignty.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful about data residency, sovereignty. I don't share my data, but you see, what we're doing here is actually looking at what matters to us as humans. Yeah, but
so how does companies how do you navigate this kind of risk? You say every country, every region has their own supply chain concerns. They're very worried about minerals, copper, etc.
Yes, because you're talking about something that's not staples. Yeah. So countries and companies will keep that data secure, but the platform does not change. It doesn't care. The platform is agnostic to what the commodity is. Yeah. So you can secure it and use it for yourself. You know what I'm saying? But it's not open data. Rice and food is open data. One of the most complicated things is rare earths. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's not what you want to share. So there are some things that you will use the system for yourself only. Yeah. And so that becomes an option too. But we are looking at systems that the world can share to get a benefit, not for particular things that you want to share, even though the system is the same. Okay. Right here.
Hello. Hello. I'm Ben from the 101.world, which is an online media in Thailand. Actually, I have two questions, but I would go one by one. Okay. The first one, as you mentioned that the Malacca Strait is one of the choke points of the world, right? But right now, Thailand has a mega project called Land Bridge, which would do a logistic link between Andaman Sea and the Thai Gulf. So do you think it will be the potential alternative to the Malacca Strait? And on the other hand, do you think will it be like a threat to the Singaporean port?
Okay, you ask a question that's outside my scope, and I will not try to answer it because we don't look at it from the point of view of will it impact Singapore or will it impact or what is the alternative. We look at it from a logistic standpoint. I ordered something, I want it to get to me. I'm not looking at the political angle actually I'm looking at it just from a logistics angle. I want it to get to me. So if you have an alternative, I will try to evaluate all the alternatives to get to me. So we are very sensitive to not answer such questions because then it becomes sensitive to the software. We want the software to be general, not to be political.
Okay, so my next question is like because ASEAN is now talking like they want to sign the APSA agreement. It's called the ASEAN Petroleum Security Agreement, which would create the regional stockpile for the petroleum.
And that's what I put on there.
So I like
and the ASEAN electricity grid too.
Yeah, that's one too. So I like to know your view. Like you think whether it is feasible and
The answer is yes. Again, from the logistics standpoint, no country, like I told you, Singapore's vulnerability, but the vulnerability is an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? If I treat and I'm going to exploit your vulnerability, then that's political. But if we work together to eliminate that vulnerability, because you see, you'll have in your country wastage of something that I require. So if we look at it in that point of view, that your surplus and my deficit can be matched, we have a better world. Idealistic, but better world. But that's our goal. Because when it comes to a humanitarian perspective, what are we trying to achieve? We are trying to save lives. But if we go to the commercial perspective or the political perspective, it's a different angle. So we stay where everybody can participate.
Yeah, I had a question. So the digital twin, which you've kind of researched on and developed, so Singapore is going to be kind of implementing this? You've already kind of started it here?
He's recording me, so I can't tell you.
So that was...
We are working on it now. We don't invest on something that's never going to be adopted. Okay. We don't have that kind of resources to be, this might happen. Our research is always reactive but anticipative.
Right, and the other countries which you spoke about, like you mentioned that you in Asia where you kind of traveled. So those were basically to talk about this, right?
No, to learn and talk about it, sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
And did any of them kind of show interest in this project?
But the answer is yes, but it's more fundamental than that. Do I have the data to drive this project?
Yeah, they'll have to share that. Yeah,
and can I share that data with you because of what we talked about, the data residency? a data sovereignty.
Sovereignty is there, yes.
Yeah, so we stay at a level when we all share the data, which is humanitarian.
Right. And the other thing you mentioned, and just a clarification, like you said in Singapore, everything is digital. So you just need to apply.
I would say everything. You're too generous.
No, no,
Yeah.
almost everything. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to understand. So what about, like in India, we have a lot of things which are digital. It's like one of the leaders in the digital economy, as you were.
And I'll be there in August at your newspaper conference. Yeah.
So, and the individual, as an individual, we always have that doubt how that data can be used. And companies all over the world are kind of trying, and there's this whole thing on data privacy and all of that, which is happening, which is very complicated again. So as an individual, how would I trust that data to even our governments? I mean, I don't know how Singapore is maybe more trustworthy.
I was very careful to share with you this part, yeah? Okay, let me share with you, because you might have missed it, yeah? Okay, let me go back. This is key. If you don't get past this stage, then why work with us? Do you know your network? I can tell you, the majority of companies do not know where their supplier is. A majority of companies did not know during the pandemic where their supplier was, because it was just an address in an ERP system. You suddenly map it on a map and you close a border and they panic. So, what's your baseline? If we can't show an improvement from the baseline, then why work with us? So we always start with the baseline. And we get stuck with the baseline because they don't know what the baseline is. So like I was saying in Java, how does freight flow in the country? We don't know, they know, but do you share it? Do you know if I am in this city, what options I have in order to get to the port to export? No, you are going to, as a commodity exporter, you're going to work with a 3PL or a logistics company and say, I leave it to you to get it to there. But today, that's your problem because you choose the wrong guy. You'll never get out. So what we are saying is we are making a network visible to a level that's useful and not compromising on your competitive advantage. You got to be careful. If you remove the competitive advantage, you end up from a vulnerability to another vulnerability. So we don't touch the competitive advantage, is what he was referring to, like between two countries. We make it open that box out such that it flows, but do not erode the competitive advantage. That's still your choice. The software will not tell you that this is a better choice and you must go for company A. The software will tell you that your choice from your baseline, this is an improvement. But the choice of which mode, which route, you must, I can tell you, but you will not believe me, so you must do it yourself. Because that's your competitive advantage. That's your relationship with your supply chain. You understand what I'm trying to say, right? So never turn a vulnerability into another vulnerability. You want to turn a vulnerability into a strength. Okay.
I think we've hit the end of the line. Sadly, I promised Professor Souza we would do it for an hour, and you've been quite generous to do this for longer. But
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great time in Singapore. You want to engage, you know how to engage with me. Thank you. You got our website. I'll just leave it because everything that I've showed you is available. If you want to find out all the things that we've done, and we make every report publicly available for no price. You don't even need to fill in your name because that's our mantra. You want to use it, you use it. and we retain the confidentiality to the company, but it's public information. That's what our government does to support us. You'll find it here.